Welcome to the Armani Talks YouTube channel. I'm your host, Armani Talks. In this channel, we're covering communication skills to help you level up your confidence, charisma, and brand presence. In this episode, I'm going to be breaking down the 5 pillars regarding emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is one of the most powerful concepts regarding people skills. But for me, growing up with a lot of engineering education, doing my undergrad in electrical engineering, working as a trained engineer, you don't use phrases like emotional intelligence. You can't test that. It's too ambiguous. And the world of emotions, you leave that out of the lab. In the lab, only logic exists. This was great, and for most of my life, it worked. But by the time that I started to work in engineering fields with other fellow engineers, I started to realize that emotions were a big part of the entire game. There's a lot of engineers with fragile egos. There's a lot of engineers that don't like it when you disagree with them in a meeting. There's a lot of engineers that don't like you for whatever reason. There's nothing logical about this. So why are they behaving like this? It's because human nature is involved. And anytime human nature is involved, whether you want to learn emotions or not, it doesn't matter. You're going to have to still deal with it. That's why every now and then you're creating the most logical argument that you can for another person who's disagreeing with you. You got the logic on your side, yet the more logic that you're spitting at this person, the angrier that they're getting at you, and the angrier that they're getting at you, the more they're disagreeing with you. Your logic is just bouncing off of them and it's just being thrown into the trash. This happens. Therefore, whether we want to understand emotional intelligence or not doesn't matter. We need to raise our EQ. And it doesn't matter which part of communication skills you're dealing with. In this channel, we're talking about public speaking, social skills, we're talking about branding yourself online, all that kind of stuff. And for each of that, EQ is relevant. It's not only relevant, by the way. I would say it's one of the predominant factors in your success. So if you're ready to learn the 5 pillars of emotional intelligence, make sure you drop a like for me right down below. See which part you're great in, see which parts you can improve on. And from these 5 parts, not only are you going to manage your own internal world, you're going to manage your external world much, much better. So without further ado, let's get started. The first part of emotional intelligence, the first pillar, is self-awareness. It doesn't matter who you're talking to, athletes, artists, entrepreneurs. If you ask them what was the key to their success, a lot of them, they're going to say mindset. Now, mindset is one thing, don't get me wrong, but what fuels mindset? What allows you to control your mindset? No one's just born with a tough mindset. How'd they get like that? They got like that via self-awareness. Self-awareness is when you're able to detach yourself from the mind and observe it, control it, treat it like a muscle, and use it in a way where you're being leveraged. That's self-awareness. And when you lack self-awareness, that's when a lot of things start to fall apart. You ever seen that one person who has all the book knowledge in the world, but they're not able to do anything with it? We know people like that. It's the people that we're always saying, you're too smart for your own good, which is translation for, you're just really annoying, man. Shh. These sort of people lack self-awareness. And self-awareness is what everything begins off with, especially in regards to the pillars of emotional intelligence. The second one is emotional regulation. For this one, it comes down to how well you're able to turn anger into fuel, sadness into a chance to introspect, happiness into more happiness. How well are you able to control your emotions? If you're an extremely logical fellow, let me just give you an example. You ever seen one of those calculators with one of those little solar panels on top? And anytime you're outside and there's light, the calculator turns on. This is an example of light being converted into electrical signals, and the electrical signals are being converted into digital signals for your calculator to take up life. So solar to electricity, electricity to function your calculator. Emotional regulation comes down to how well you're able to turn different emotions into practical uses. So if some idiot cuts you off in traffic, you're feeling angry. Now you have two options. Do you go on and cut the person back off? Or do you hold onto that anger? Do you convert that anger into fuel for the gym? And from the gym, you're able to become stronger. Which one was the more emotionally intelligent move? I'll let you figure that one out. So that's 2, emotional regulation. The third one is motivation. Not motivation from the external world, not you going to some self-help seminar where they're amping you up and you feel good to go. I'm not bashing those. Those are completely fine, but that's not necessarily emotional intelligence. The motivation that I'm talking about is how well you're able to motivate yourself. Now, if you're doing emotional regulation, part 2, correctly, then motivation should just sort of fall out. With these YouTube videos, at times I'm thinking, nah, not today. And from there, it's a chance to work on emotional intelligence. Turn that laziness into action. That bridge is your ability to motivate yourself. So what are you doing it in context to your life? Let's be real. With content creation or going to some networking event, we're not always feeling up for it. But can you motivate yourself? Can you self-discipline yourself? Because if you discipline yourself, you're going to get empowerment. But when someone else is disciplining you, you're going to get resentment. So that's number 3, motivation. The fourth one is the ability to empathize. Empathizing is when you're having the ability to understand where someone's coming from. You're not necessarily agreeing with them, you're just understanding where they're coming from. For this one, you need to have made sure you got the first 3 done. If you're not self-aware, if you can't regulate your own emotions, if you're not motivated at all, then it's hard to empathize with someone. So unless you get the first 3 done, it'll be a rare case for you to meet empathy. But empathy is extremely powerful because it gives you extra perspectives. Especially, let's say you run a business and your virtual assistant, they've went from extremely productive to lazy out of the blue moon. Now, if you're just evaluating it from your perspective and you're saying, man, I gotta fire this guy, man. This guy's an idiot. Yet, he's always doing great work. He knows your business inside and out. So firing him would be difficult. It would give you a long time to, find other talent. But instead of firing him so quickly, if you just are able to put yourself into his perspective, if you're able to empathize with this dude, you may be able to get a lot of different insights that you wouldn't have been if you're just evaluating it from your perspective. So let's say this guy, he hasn't been able to spend much time with his family because he's working with you so much. Well, if you're able to evaluate it from his perspective, you start to realize, all right, how about I take away 1 hour a day from his schedule so he gets that extra hour with his family. And simply by showing that consideration, you're able to win him over and you're able to motivate him just a little bit more. This is just an example, but you're able to see that a little bit of empathy doesn't only help you out, it can help your business out and your relationships out as well. So the fourth one is empathy, which leads me to the fifth and final one. The fifth and final one is social skills. If you got all 4 of these parts right, social skills sort of just falls on out. Don't you see charismatic people? A lot of these charismatic people, they have social skills, But it's not about what they're saying and how they're saying it, which are two good parts, don't get me wrong. But what they're able to do perfectly is their ability to morph their personalities as need be for the environment around them. It's sort of like cells. With cells, if you put them in different environments, the life of the cell is going to be completely different because the cell is influenced by their environment. Now, I'm not saying that for social skills, you need to just keep adapting to be fake. Instead, with social skills, what I'm trying to say is that you're supposed to be able to maintain your authentic personality, but bring out the elements of your personality that works best for this particular social situation. And you're not going to be able to do that if you lack self-awareness. You're not going to be able to do that if you get angry anytime someone makes a small joke about you. You're not going to be able to do that if you don't even motivate yourself to go to the social event in the first place. And you're not going to be able to do that if you lack empathy and you keep cutting others off and making the whole conversation about yourself. So if you want to become more socially intelligent, rather than working straight on your social intelligence, work on your emotional intelligence first. Because from emotional intelligence, social intelligence becomes much, much easier. And the more interactions that you have with social intelligence, the easier emotional intelligence becomes as well. Your EQ rises. These are the world of soft skills, but the more that you can level up your soft skills, the more opportunities that you get. Hard skills makes great workers. Soft skills makes great leaders. And a combination of the two make great winners. So just a quick little recap. The first pillar of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. The second part is the ability for you to regulate your emotions. The third one is self-motivation. The fourth one is empathy. And the fifth one is social skills. Now ask yourself, which one are you good in? Which one can you level up on? From there on, level those parts up and make sure there's no holes in your game. Do your best to reach that level. And if today's episode helps you out, make sure you drop that like for me right on below and you share this video on your social media of choice. Thank you for joining the Armani Talks YouTube channel, and I'll catch you on the next episode.